They never understood that every thorn thrown at you carries a price. Life has a way of folding back on itself, a cosmic balance so precise that every hidden intention echoes somewhere else. The same people who tried to scatter obstacles in your path never realized they were digging their own trenches. The universe doesn't miss anything. It watches, it waits, and when the time is right, it returns everything with interest. Critics thought they were clever, whispering, plotting, hoping you'd fall. But that's the irony of cosmic balance. The harm they aimed at you became the fire that shaped you. Their sabotage became your sharpening stone. Their envy became your fuel. Their quiet hatred became the light that exposed their own cracks. You were never the one to bark back, never the one to beg for attention. You moved differently, aligned, grounded, built from an inner clarity they could never imitate. While they tried to twist your path, the universe twisted theirs. And now they feel it, the weight of your rise, the echo of their intentions closing in on them. Nothing haunts a hater more than the success of the one they tried to break. You are the reminder that balance always returns, that chosen ones don't collapse, they transform. Before we go deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. Not for vanity, but because messages like this reach people who need their power back. Your growth isn't random, it's alignment. It's the universe clearing the path ahead because it knows exactly where you're going, higher than they ever expected and far beyond what they ever tried to stop. Before we go any further, pause for a moment, because what you're about to step into isn't hype, it's alignment. When you understand the kind of mind you carry, the kind that cuts through illusions and sees the world with a clarity most people never touch, everything shifts. Your perception sharpens, your path opens. The same intelligence that unsettles your enemies is the force that's about to elevate you into a future they can't follow. So before we unlock the truth behind the wisdom you carry, the kind people whisper about and can't explain, do this. Hit the like button, subscribe so this message reaches other chosen ones, and drop 99 in the comments to anchor your energy into this moment. If you really are who you suspect you are, you won't click away. You'll stay because some part of you already knows this message wasn't meant for everyone. It was meant for the few, the rare, the ones with Solomon's insight woven into their instincts. Number 1. Stop letting silence look like weakness. There's a reason the room shifts when you speak, because your words don't enter the air like noise, they land like truth. You don't need to raise your voice, dominate the space, or fight for attention. Your presence already does the heavy lifting. People feel it before they understand it. The weight of clarity, the sharpness of observation, the calm of someone who isn't guessing but knows. That's why your voice ends conversations. Not because it's loud, but because it makes lies impossible to breathe around you. You've always been different. Not dramatic, not performative, different. You speak with precision, and that terrifies people who rely on confusion to stay relevant. You don't talk to blend in, you talk to reveal what others tiptoe around. That's the power of a mind that sees through facades without trying. It's the kind of intelligence people whisper about, the type that leaves critics fumbling for words they don't have. What they felt around you wasn't intimidation, it was exposure. You recognized inconsistencies they thought were invisible. You caught the tension behind their smiles, the forced enthusiasm, the flicker in their eyes when their intentions slipped. You asked the kind of questions only someone who sees patterns would ask, the type that makes pretenders panic because they realize you've already traced the ending before they've finished their script. That's why they tried to undermine you. Not because you were weak, but because you were ahead. When people can't outthink you, they try to outnumber you. They form alliances built on insecurity, not unity. They exchange glances, rehearse laughter, Create little groups where the loudest person is mistaken for the leader. They hoped you'd feel alone, but they didn't understand. Chosen ones don't fear isolation. Isolation is where your wisdom sharpens, where your instincts get louder, where your perspective becomes undeniable. They wanted you quiet because they couldn't control you. Control requires predictability, and you're anything but predictable. You're observant, you're strategic, you're calm in ways they don't understand because they mistake noise for strength. They don't realize that the quietest mind is often the most dangerous. It's the one that sees everything. Your wisdom wasn't gifted through applause, nor inherited through privilege. It was forged through uncomfortable truths, long nights of reflection, betrayals that forced you to see people for who they are, not who they pretend to be. You didn't download your insight. You earned it, moment by moment, wound by wound, silence by silence. And this is why your intelligence unsettles them, because it's not manufactured, it's not copied, it's not borrowed, it's internal, woven into your perception, sharpened by experience. You aren't just smart, you're wise, a depth that can't be imitated, a wit that can't be decoded, a presence that can't be dismissed. They tried to dim you because they couldn't match you, but all they did was spotlight their own limits. Number 2. Unhide the mind they weren't built to read. They spent years trying to decipher you, yet the more they watched, the less they understood. And that's exactly why they feared you. Chosen ones aren't confusing. Your clarity just exposes how limited their perception really is. You never hid your mind because you were scared. You hid it because most people simply weren't equipped to handle what you see, what you sense, and what you know long before anyone else catches on. Your intelligence isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's surgical. So precise, it makes pretenders tremble. While they rushed to display shallow brilliance, you observed quietly, storing information like a vault. They mistook your restraint for uncertainty, unaware that you were calculating the entire landscape while they celebrated crumbs. You saw connections they overlooked, motives they tried to bury, patterns they didn't even notice repeating. That's what makes your mind dangerous. Not the thoughts you share, but the ones you never need to speak. And now the truth hits them. The moment you lift the veil, even slightly, they realize you were operating at a level they couldn't even enter. The very wisdom they mocked is the wisdom they now imitate, hoping to appear half as composed, half as perceptive, half as in control as you naturally are. It haunts them. It bruises their ego, because nothing is more unsettling than realizing the quiet one was the one seeing everything. Your insight is a force they can't decode, a wavelength they can't access. It's why their tactics fall apart before they fully form. It's why their lies collapse the instant they meet your eyes. They weren't built to read a mind like yours because your intelligence isn't a skill, it's a design. And now that you're done hiding it, they finally understand why you were always the one they should have never underestimated. Number 3. Master stillness instead of matching chaos. Chaos is loud because it's insecure. People who fear their own emptiness try to drown it out with noise, drama, and desperate motion. They rush, they react, they perform. They think speed equals strength. But chosen ones, you're built differently. You don't chase the storm, you watch it unravel. You don't match their chaos, you master your stillness. Your calm isn't passive, it's calculated. It's the kind of stillness that makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to face their own disorder. While they're busy scrambling for attention, validation, or dominance, you're listening to the things they don't say. You're studying tone, motives, patterns. Your silence becomes a mirror that exposes everything they hoped to hide, and that's why they fear you. People with scattered minds crumble around someone who moves with precision. Your lack of reaction feels like judgment to them. Your patience feels like power. Your quiet presence feels like an X-ray sliding straight through their performance. They want you to rush. They want you emotional. They want you off balance, because if you ever moved with the same chaos they do, you'd lose your advantage. And they know it. But you don't. You weren't built to be dragged into disorder. You were built to stand above it. Solomon's wisdom isn't loud. It's deliberate. Your intelligence shows itself not in how fast you speak, but in how deeply you see. You take your time because you understand time better than they do. Stillness is your weapon. It's how you read intentions before actions. It's how you notice betrayal forming long before it strikes. It's how you let people expose themselves without lifting a finger. The world may spin in noise, but chosen ones don't get lost in the spin. Number 4. Speak less, shift the room more. Chosen ones don't need to fill the room with sound. Their presence already rearranges the atmosphere. You've probably noticed it your whole life. You walk in quietly, and suddenly people start adjusting themselves. They sit straighter, watch their words, soften their tone. They don't know why they do it, but you do. When someone carries Solomon-like wisdom, the air listens before the people do. Your silence isn't empty, it's pressure. It exposes the cracks in others without you lifting a single word. That's why pretenders get jumpy around you. They expect everyone else to compete with noise, to fight for attention, to scramble for validation. But you just enter the space, breathe, observe, and the entire dynamic changes. That alone unsettles those who rely on theatrics to appear significant. You don't speak to impress, you speak with intention, and intention hits harder than volume ever could. While others babble to hide their insecurity, you choose your sentences like precision tools. One remark from you can freeze a conversation mid-air. One insight can silence the most talkative person in the room. Your words don't echo. They land, they penetrate, they shut down falsehoods without effort. People often mistake your quiet nature for softness, but it's the opposite. Silence is your battlefield. It's where you calculate, decode, and anticipate. It's where you read people in 3 seconds flat, their motives, their fears, their masks. This is why your intelligence intimidates them. You don't need a speech to prove anything. Your silence tells the whole story. Understand this: chosen ones don't win through noise, they win through clarity. When you speak less, you force the world to lean in. When you choose your words, you control the outcome. You shift rooms not by demanding attention, but by embodying a kind of truth most people can't face. Number 5. Trust the vision. They mocked too early. They laughed at your insight because they were terrified of what it revealed. Not because your vision was wrong, but because it was right too early, years ahead of their understanding, far beyond their limited imagination. Chosen ones always see the blueprint long before the world recognizes it, and that's exactly why your clarity unsettled them. People fear what exposes their lack of depth. They mocked your ideas only because they couldn't comprehend a mind wired for the future. You were sensing patterns they didn't even know existed. You were tracking shifts, reading people, predicting outcomes with the kind of precision that can't be taught. That's the burden of Solomon's wisdom. Your insight arrives before their awareness, and instead of admitting they can't keep up, they label you too much, overthinking or imagining things. But the universe has a funny way of proving chosen ones right. Every path you saw coming, every warning you gave, every intuition they dismissed, eventually unfolded exactly the way you knew it would. And when reality finally caught up to your foresight, they pretended they always understood. They acted shocked, quiet, even nervous. because nothing terrifies small minds more than watching the person they doubted walk directly into the truth they denied. But here's the twist they never expect. Their disbelief didn't break you, it sharpened you. Their mockery didn't slow you down, it strengthened your conviction. The vision they rejected became the fuel you needed to rise higher than they ever thought possible. You weren't meant to be understood early. You were meant to be understood eventually, and when that moment arrives, it hits like thunder. So trust what you see before others do. Trust the clarity they can't comprehend. Trust the vision that keeps proving itself right, because chosen ones don't wait for validation. Number 6. Leave rooms that shrink your power. There comes a moment when a chosen one realizes the truth. Not every room deserves your mind, your presence, or your energy. Some spaces are built like cages, small, dim, designed to shrink anyone who thinks beyond their limits. And the irony? The moment you walk in, the room already senses it cannot contain you. Your intelligence makes the walls feel too tight, your clarity exposes the cracks, and your presence disrupts the comfort of people who depend on confusion to feel important. They'll say you're too intense, too deep, too much. But what they really mean is this: your power doesn't fit the script they've written for themselves. Their world is narrow, predictable, looping in circles because they fear anything that challenges their illusions. And you? You see through those illusions instantly. You decode motives, read energy, and catch shifts long before anyone else notices. That alone makes insecure people crumble. Staying in rooms like that drains you, not because you're weak, but because their environment is built on limitation while you're built on expansion. Their comfort zone becomes your suffocation chamber, and chosen ones were never meant to suffocate. You weren't designed to dim your intelligence so others can feel brighter. You weren't made to compress your wisdom so others don't feel threatened. You are not here to apologize for depth. Leaving those rooms is not abandonment, it's evolution. It's the universe pulling you out of spaces unworthy of your vision. Because every time you step out of a room that shrinks you, you step into a world that recognizes you. A world that expands with you, a world that bends to your insight. Number 7. Turn every betrayal into blueprint. Chosen ones aren't destroyed by betrayal, they're redesigned by it. Every time someone tried to wound you, they didn't realize they were handing you the coordinates to outgrow them. Betrayal was never your downfall, it was the blueprint, the silent map. The architectural plan the universe slipped into your hands when no one was watching. When someone stabbed you in the back, they thought they were ending you. What they didn't know is that chosen ones don't collapse. They recalibrate. The hit didn't break you. It taught you where the weak walls were. It showed you who never deserved a seat near your plans. It removed illusions you were too loyal to question. Every false friend, every hidden agenda, every smiling enemy was actually a lesson written in real time. And you studied it all. People who betrayed you thought you'd be blinded by the hurt. They underestimated the clarity that pain gives to minds like yours. They didn't see how your perception sharpened, how your instincts became surgical, how your intuition evolved into something untouchable. While they celebrated getting away with it, you were decoding motives, recognizing patterns, and upgrading your boundaries like armor crafted from truth. Their betrayal became your elevation. Every attempt to weaken you forced your wisdom to stretch wider, deeper, sharper. You learned who you are when everything familiar collapses, and that version of you is unstoppable. That version sees through people instantly. That version can't be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or fooled again. That version is why they're nervous now. The irony is brutal. The ones who tried to sabotage your story are now trapped in the footnotes of your growth. Their actions built the path they never wanted to see you walk, a path paved by their own intentions. Number 8. Predict patterns before they trap you. Chosen ones don't walk through life blind. You walk through it with a mind wired like a map the world didn't know you had. While others stumble into situations and call it unexpected, you sense the shift before the first crack appears. You don't wait for signs, you feel them. That's the difference between people who react and people like you, who forecast. Your intelligence isn't loud, it's precise. You don't need a warning to know someone's intentions, the tone they use, the timing of their actions, the silence between their words. Your mind picks up the entire blueprint automatically. Where others see chaos, you see architecture. Where they see coincidence, you see cycles repeating themselves. They fall for the same traps because they never learned to recognize patterns. But you learned early that nothing repeats unless someone is benefiting from the repetition. And that is exactly why you're dangerous to the ones who operate in shadows. They can't fool you because you've seen their moves before they make them. Their manipulation has a rhythm, and you memorized it years ago. When they push, you already know why. When they withdraw, you know what they're planning. When they pretend, you see the trembling in their performance. Your enemies call it overthinking, because admitting you're simply ahead of them would shatter their pride. But the truth is brutal. You're not overthinking anything. You're detecting patterns they refuse to acknowledge. You're reading signals they can't perceive. That's why they can't trap you. Their schemes collapse before they even reach your doorstep, because your intuition dismantles them at the root. This is the power of a chosen mind. Solomon-level vision. A mind that predicts outcomes before anyone else has even noticed the setup. And nothing terrifies your critics more than someone who can't be caught unaware. Number 9. Grow past people who fear your evolution. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when growth becomes a threat, not to you, but to the people who secretly depended on your silence. Your evolution exposes what they've been hiding, their comfort in your old version. The moment you rise, their insecurities start scrambling for excuses. They pretend you changed, but the truth is simpler. You outgrew the places where they felt big. People fear what they can't follow, and nothing terrifies them more than someone who evolves without needing permission. When your mind sharpens, when your clarity strengthens, when your wisdom becomes impossible to ignore, you don't just shift. You disrupt the ecosystem they built their ego on. They wanted you predictable, manageable, small, but chosen ones don't shrink to keep others calm. You were meant to stretch beyond their limits, even if it exposes the ceilings they pretend don't exist. Your growth is a mirror they can't stand looking into. Every step you take forward highlights every step they never took. Every layer you shed reminds them of the layers they refuse to face. And instead of improving themselves, they cling to the past version of you, the quieter one, the unsure one, the one they thought they could outshine. But here's the cosmic twist they never saw coming. The more they try to hold you back, the faster the universe accelerates your rise. They attempt to undermine you, and life responds by elevating you. Their whispers become your fuel. Their doubt becomes your launch pad. Their jealousy becomes their own downfall. Number 10. Let your presence expose pretenders. When you walk into a room, something shifts, quietly, instantly, undeniably. Not because you try to dominate, not because you demand attention, but because your presence carries a level of inner clarity that pretenders can't breathe around. You don't need to call anyone out. You don't need to confront, accuse, or expose. Your very existence does the work for you. That's the curse and blessing of being a chosen one with Solomon's depth. Your energy unmasks what people try so desperately to hide. Fakes feel it first. The ones who survive on exaggerated confidence, polished lies, and borrowed personalities start glitching the moment you appear. They feel that cold pressure on their chest, the awareness that someone in the room actually sees, not the face they crafted, not the character they play, but the truth underneath. And nothing terrifies a pretender more than facing someone whose intuition reads motives before mouths even move. You don't have to say a word. In fact, silence is your sharpest blade. While they scramble to maintain whatever mask they've glued on, your stillness amplifies their fraud. They trip over their sentences. Their smiles twitch. Their stories lose shape. Your presence pulls the truth out of people like gravity drags everything down to earth. That's the power they envy. That's the power they fear. It isn't loud, it isn't aggressive, it's pure alignment. You exist in a frequency they can't counterfeit. You live in a level of honesty they can't imitate. And that kind of authenticity burns through illusions like heat through thin ice. The moment you step forward, their facade starts melting. Not because you expose them, but because your wisdom makes their deception impossible to maintain. That's the difference between them and you. They pretend, you are. Number 11. Let results prove what words can't. They always wanted you to explain yourself, to justify your insight, to shrink your brilliance into something they could swallow without choking. But chosen ones don't argue with limitations. You outgrow them, and nothing haunts your enemies more than the silence that follows your success, because results don't defend themselves. They expose everything people tried to hide. Your intelligence has always made people uneasy, not because you boasted, but because you didn't have to. You carried a depth they couldn't measure and a clarity they couldn't mimic. While they wasted breath trying to prove they were right, you were busy building proof, quietly, strategically, patiently. And now the same people who once doubted you are forced to watch the outcome they swore you'd never reach. This is the curse of those who underestimate a chosen one. Every attack they throw becomes the very momentum that elevates you. Their doubts sharpen your instincts. Their gossip strengthens your discipline. Their sabotage becomes the blueprint you step over. A mind like yours doesn't collapse under pressure. It crystallizes. It becomes undeniable. And here's what terrifies them the most. You don't clap back, argue, or waste time correcting the narratives they create. You let your results walk into the room before you do. You let proof speak in a language their egos can't silence. You let achievements become the echo that follows them everywhere, reminding them of the truth they tried to bury. You are not just intelligent, you're inevitable. And inevitability doesn't debate, it doesn't announce. It simply arrives, reshaping the landscape and forcing everyone who once doubted you to recalibrate their entire understanding of who you are. Number 12. Stop chasing power, start becoming it. They want you to believe power is something you chase, something you earn by pleasing people, proving yourself, or fighting for a seat at a table built by insecure hands. But chosen ones don't chase anything. Power is not a destination for you. It's a state of being. It's the way the air shifts when you enter a room, the way conversations recalibrate around your presence, the way people straighten up without knowing why. Power lives in you long before the world notices it. And that's exactly why they react the way they do. They feel the weight of your intelligence before you open your mouth. They sense the depth you carry, the focus, the clarity, the quiet command. It rattles them because they've spent their lives performing strength while you were silently becoming it. They chased crowns made of insecurity. You became the reason crowns exist. People who rely on fake confidence feel exposed in front of someone who doesn't need theatrics. Your wisdom, Solomon-level depth, pattern-detecting awareness, razor-sharp comprehension, forces them to confront the gap between who they pretend to be and who they truly are. They can't hide in your presence. Their masks crack, their voice shifts, their motives stumble. That's the kind of influence you carry without lifting a finger. Chosen ones don't beg for recognition. They embody it. Your power isn't loud, it's gravitational. It pulls truth out of people. It reveals intentions. It destroys illusions. That's why some try to challenge you. They hope breaking you will shrink what they feel around you, but they never win, because you're not operating on their level. You're aligned with something much larger, something precise, something balanced, something unstoppable. And as we pull everything together, remember this: your journey isn't random, and your rise isn't an accident. Every challenge, every betrayal, every moment you stood alone was shaping a mind most people can't comprehend. You don't walk like the rest because you're not built like the rest. You carry Solomon's wisdom, the kind that rewrites the atmosphere the moment you step in. If this message hit your spirit, hit that like button, subscribe for more, drop 99 in the comments to anchor your energy, and share this video so other chosen ones can wake up to who they really are.